Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror. I am your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner and operator of Something Wicked Entertainment, in which we do podcasts, films, film festivals, and a whole plethora of other entertaining stuff. And here on this podcast, we like to delve deep into different types of horror films, both classic, modern, and even stuff from several different decades that people love, such as the 80s and 90s. So, since it is the holiday for Halloween, we are doing some amazing episodes in this month that kind of highlight not only the original Halloween franchise, or I guess all aspects of the Halloween franchise, but also Halloween movies in general. If you've been catching up with us this month, you'll have seen that we've done, I think, Halloween. I forget which Halloween.
Halloween 3 we did.
Halloween 3. Thank you.
Season of the Witch.
Season of the Witch. That is our special guest host for today, Dave Watkins, who is here to delve deeper into Rob Zombie's Halloween, the 2007 version, which is a polarizing film for a lot of people. But me and Dave are going to dig deep into it for you. So getting started with Halloween 2007, Rob Zombie's Halloween, that is. Dave, I have to ask, because this is a more modern film than what we've done in the past, especially with Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. What was your initial impressions of this film?
Yeah, so I guess I probably saw it. I didn't see it in the theater, but I saw it when it came out on DVD or whatever. I rented it. I was a little worried about it. It's with Rob Zombie. I think this is one of the first films he directed, I
I
believe.
think it's his second after House of a Thousand Corpses, actually.
Did he do that? He did House of a Thousand Corpses first.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I mean, as far I don't know. I'm kind of got mixed feelings about this one. I didn't necessarily hate it, but it didn't feel like a Halloween film to me. But he did make some creative choices and do different things, which I appreciate. So I think that it is a very brutal and often vulgar movie. And
Mm.
2007, the style was handheld camera shit, which is cool, but and then all there's like this thing that actually I guess it started around the first Ring movie, maybe, where they started doing this kind of color grading that wasn't natural colors. It was more of a, let's like make this shit look green or blue or something. There's a little bit of that going on with
Yeah.
it. And I think like the Hitcher 2, for like the not the Hitcher 2, the Hitcher remake, they just put this orange filter over the whole thing. It's like, but it kind of is more of a color grading to make you feel something, and it doesn't always happen. Sometimes the color looks kind of more natural, but it was definitely it was I don't know. But as far as like the structure of it, it's the first half. It doesn't it's two different movies. I think we talked about this before. The first half is a prequel to Halloween, which the very first Halloween. This is a remake of the first Halloween, and it really is like a reboot of the whole series. But it also serves as a prequel, and it kind of tells the same story, but it tells it differently, which is respectable. I think it needed to be told differently. You can't just tell the same thing again. That's what everybody wanted, the same thing again, I guess. And this movie made a lot of money, though. It made $80 million on a $15 million budget. So there's that to be said about it.
Well, I think after Resurrection killed the franchise, they kind of gave Rob Zombie, who had only done two movies before this, House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects. But I remember people loving the Devil's Rejects, and they probably
Right, yeah.
because he was an up and coming director, which is what they normally do in Hollywood. They give their prized possessions to up and coming directors, and he kind of just said, you're going to remake Halloween, do it your style because people like what you do. Uh, so when I saw this, because I didn't see it at the theater, and the thing is, I come from a different aspect because I'm really a big fan of Rob Zombie as a musician first. And as anyone who knows, when we did the House of a Thousand Corpses episode, everyone knows that I hated that movie really a lot when I
Yeah,
first saw it.
and yeah, let me jump on that a little bit, a little bit. So I wasn't on that particular episode, but I had a hard time with it myself. I haven't watched it since it first came out, but it made me a little sick, really. But I don't know if it's like I think that type of horror in that time frame, it was all about really just making you fucking feel like shit, when you're
Yeah.
watching it. It's like before, I mean, before that. I think some people like older than me would watch something like Friday the 13th and be scared by it and
Hmm.
not laugh when the mom comes out and slaps her across the face, and tries to kill her. But it's like that may have scared previous generations, but I was having a fun time with it. And horror has always been kind of fun to me. You can but earlier horror, like say in the 80s, they wouldn't necessarily be they would be trying to be serious with it, but at the same time it's not serious enough. It was not so serious. I always knew it was fake. When
Yeah.
it got into this type of these years, it was all about let's be real. Let's be as
It's
real as we
brutal.
can and brutal and just like make you sick. And I think it would be interesting to talk to someone who was a teenager in that time frame and see because I think that like this sort of thing and like Hostel.
Yeah, Hostel and Saw came a couple of years
Yeah,
before that. Devil's Rejects. The thing is, this was the age or the beginning of the whole torture porn cycle, which I hate to say because
right. Yeah, yeah.
Saw Saul is more psychologically brutal than actual brutal until the end, but it gets lugged in there with all the
Yeah, I like the first Saw, but and really the other ones when it really became, I think when you got Saw 2, it became into that sort of thing. But it's hard though, because if you think about it, if you're in a situation like that, in movies before this, if you got caught in a trap, it would just end the scene. But
Mhm.
this, you would see the person struggle.
Mhm.
They'd get like part of their body ripped off and then crawl out of it or whatever they need to do. But it just but it would just show stuff and it would like it's not even like showing it because I always liked seeing gore. Gore was different too because it looked
Mhm.
real. Before it always looked fake, and it was like now it's like oh wow, it looks like that looks so real, and they struggle with it. Before it was like maybe you might have somebody get killed, but it happens so quick. But now it's like a long, agonizing, painful death. It's like it just goes on for a while. I don't know. It kind of leaves you in a different type of feeling. It's like this isn't fun anymore. This is I don't even know what it is exactly.
But you have to keep in mind that you're also getting into the French extreme cinema, which was coming in and being popular in the US, despite the fact that they weren't really that popular in France. The stuff like High Tension, and I'm trying to think of all the French ones
Yeah.
that were coming out. That they had a whole little genre between the French New Wave. I keep wanting to say New Wave, but New Wave
Yeah.
came much earlier. The French extreme cinema, which then kind of siphoned off to everyone else. And we got
But
there before you started seeing stuff like a Serbian film and stuff like that that went even, or the Human Centipede that went even further with it than even Rob Zombie's films did. But I think Rob Zombie's films are dirty. I think that's why people either like or dislike them
I
because
think that, yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I think you kind of feel a little dirty when you're watching it.
yeah, they're not about like the normal people. They're about the people who, I hate to say this out loud, but they're like the trailer trash people. Um,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
and
I mean, especially in the first act of this when you see Michael
yeah,
Myers' original family. But I will say about Rob Zombie, I did see the Monsters movie recently, and it's not like that at all. It's a very nice homage to the original Monsters, and it doesn't make you feel that way. It's a lot something you wouldn't expect from him.
well, Zombie has said he's a huge fan of the monster, so
Yeah.
he
And you
went.
can, I mean, and it shows in that film, and I think it's I think people didn't give it a chance. I think it's pretty decent, pretty well done.
But Halloween, his first, I think, yeah, it's his first remake of someone else's property. And you're right. There is that audience who wants or were expecting it to be a remake of John Carpenter's Halloween, and then there's his followers who were willing to go the extra distance after they'd seen The Devil's Rejects in House of a Thousand Corpses. And I think that,
yeah.
you know, thankfully,
Right.
I like The Devil's Rejects. And so I was giving Halloween a chance when I first saw it. So I saw it at the theater. I saw Halloween at the theater because not because of Rob Zombie, but more because I have always been a huge fan of the Halloween franchise up until recently. So I was willing to give them a chance on it, and I was open to anything, especially after Resurrection.
Yeah, I still haven't finished that movie. The first time I tried to watch it last year, and I got maybe halfway through. I'm going to watch it eventually. That's the only one I haven't watched the whole way through. I don't know. I really hate it that they kill Jamie Lee Curtis's character off at the beginning of it. That's like fucking terrible.
Yeah, it was.
I mean
Or
that. Yeah,
or how they explain how Michael Myers survives. I always hated that. I always hated that. But Rob Zombie, when I rewatched it for the podcast, I realized that the first half, like you were saying, or what we mentioned earlier in our talks, is the first half. I really enjoyed the first half of this movie. The second half I thought was okay. The first half, I didn't know where he was expecting to really go with what he was doing with the Michael Myers character. And then it dawned on me when I watched it. The thing that shocked me the most is that there's a lot of scenes with Michael in the insane asylum talking to Loomis before he actually they
yeah.
cut to when he's older. Like you're seeing this kid's slow deterioration,
I think yeah.
which I
I,
enjoyed.
right. I think it's a very like I said before. I think that something different needed to be done, and they explore. It actually it makes it scary in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
The other one's scary because you don't know where he's coming from. This is scary because you have a kid that seems he's got some problems, and I think a lot of people see some kids who have some issues at that age, but the kid looks like he could possibly reform. And what they do in the film is they have this kid come across characters, with the exception of his mom, who are terrible people, and it's okay for him to get killed because you hate him.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like the bully at school, which
yeah.
is pretty horrific. Though he follows him, and then you're like, yeah, he's beating his ass with a stick, but then he keeps going until the kid's dead. It's like, I think it's hard for me to watch. Like, I'm glad they didn't show this, but there's implications that he's been killing animals earlier on, and but I'm glad that there's most of that was pictures and just dialogue, and not actually see him doing that, because I think I would have had a really hard time watching that happen. But then, so he kills the kid at school, and then his stepdad's a real piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these like I mean, there's some pretty good scenes here, but everything's like you say, dirty and vulgar. There's a lot of the stepdad's a real like making lots of sexual comments. His sister that he killed. There's two sisters that played by the same actress, because in the earlier part it was Scout Taylor. Was it Scout Taylor
Dr.
Thomas?
Compton, I think it is.
Compton, yeah.
Scout Taylor Compton.
Compton, yeah. She plays like both characters, like Judith Myers, the sister that he kills in the first film at the beginning, and Laurie Strode, who Jamie Lee Curtis played in the original film. But she's a baby in the opening, so that's the only character that's not bad in the opening. Even when he gets into and he kills his stepdad, he kills his sister's boyfriend and his sister, because they're not that the boyfriend was necessarily doing anything bad to him, but he was up there, like, they're out there having sex, he's downstairs and all that. So I don't know. He just kind of lost his shit.
Well, remember he wanted to go trick or treating, and the only reason why he doesn't is because his sister takes her boyfriend up to the bedroom.
Right.
The whole Michael Myers would have turned out differently if his sister just paid a little attention to her little brother.
but this is a very this character though, the Michael Myers character in this film, he's killed this kid at school, and he just comes home. He kills him out in the woods, and he comes home, and he's not phased by it. He has no empathy. He's not phased by it at all. He's like, the only thing he cares about is going trick or treating. He's not like, oh shit, I might get caught for killing this kid. He's like, y'all gonna bring me trick or treating? I'm gonna kill you too. You know, you know.
Yeah, I think I think one of the issues that people might have is how do you make this character empathetic for the very first part of the movie until he grows up.
Right.
And the thing is, the first killing is a bully, and then of course the second is his stepfather, who's another bully. And then you're right, the boyfriend is not really a bully.
Yeah, but he's not cool with him. He's
He's
like,
not cool with
screw
him.
you, kid. But here's the thing, though, that they do well. That's interesting about the film is they eventually get into the sane asylum part when he becomes an adult. And
Mhm.
everybody he's killed, in a horror movie logic way, deserve to be killed. And so you're kind of a little bit on his side. But then Danny Trejo's
Yep.
character, yeah, so he's an orderly he's been nice to him. He's been taking care of him. He's been making sure nothing happens to him. But once he gets released, the first thing like he kills some other orderlies who are like, which is very brutal. They like, in order for him to get escape, they take this other female inmate, bring her in there, and then like rape her in front of him. But then he like kills them. I don't know what happens to the girl they were raping. I assume he maybe
Oh
killed her
yeah.
too. But maybe she got away. But maybe she lived. But you don't see that yet because you see Danny Trejo's character and you think maybe he's gonna like let him live, but instead he just drowns him.
And it's a brutal killing too. It goes on longer than most of
Yeah.
the other ones. Like he just keeps trying to drown them and drown them and drown them, and then he pulls them out, and Danny Trejo's character is
Yeah.
still not dead yet, and then he drops a freaking television on his head.
Yeah. And so that's a character you like. That's a character who's a good character who's like a hero type of character, and instead of like letting him live, he goes ahead and kills him anyway because that's how far gone he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think it's at that point that as an audience member, if you're on board with what he's doing, at that point you may want to rethink what's going on. You know.
Well, that's where I kind of like you kind of like lose focus for the film because after that, the second half, you're looking for a character to be some type of sympathy for any of the characters, but even Laurie Strode, she just comes off as like any one of the other three girls.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I hate to say that because I like Scott Taylor Compton, but I think because this is one of her earliest roles, she doesn't come off as being any different from the other two girls, really. There doesn't seem to be that much of a differentiation between the three. They just seem like three normal girls.
Yeah, they all three like seem to be very focused on talking about sex constantly. Mm-hmm. You know, it's everything that they do is about talking about having sex or something. You know,
it's Rob Zombie's Dirty Fox.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I guess once you get into that second half, it is kind of. I think they make her a little unnecessarily vulgar and unlikable in some instances, but I guess it kind of goes back in with the original family. She's been adopted by a new family. Her name's been changed, but she still has that type of kind of redneck mentality, you know, mm-hmm. going. In the first scene, it shows her her stepmom or her adopted mom, played by Dee Wallace, who used to be Dee Wallace Stone, but she has a bagel and acts like she's gonna put her finger through it, like she's gonna fuck it or whatever, you know. And the mom's like really disturbed by it. As a matter of fact, like about 10, 15 minutes later, next time she's like, you know, it really bothered me what you did with that bagel this morning. You know? but I guess it's like it doesn't make her like, it makes her not that likable, but at the same time it does tie into like she's been adopted by like a higher class family, but she mm-hmm. still has the same kind of type of mentality, so nature versus nurture type of mentality. So it makes sense, but it doesn't make her necessarily likable.
Yeah, not nearly as likable, or I guess the word I would probably say is more as innocent as Jamie Lee Curtis in the original film. Which I'm sure a lot of people who appreciate the original film did not like about this film. And most of the people I know of who have seen it kind of have the same similar ideal as we do, whereas the second half of the film is not nearly as like it's all as predictable. But one of the things I liked about it, and I kind of dislike about it as well, is that it seems to go by really fast, and then all of a sudden we get to the third act, and it seems to go on forever.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Like,
like well, after everybody's killed and he's trying to kill her, and you know what you're talking about from there
yes,
until
most definitely.
yeah, like the last like 10 or 15 minutes. Did you watch the unrated or the regular one?
I believe mine's unrated.
Yeah, that's the one I saw too. I'm not sure what's new in it. There's 10 additional minutes to it.
Oh shit, I didn't even
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I don't know what was cut out from the other one, but I hadn't but yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it goes pretty fast and then all of a sudden it's like there's one person left. And it's always like, it's not like, and you don't know, you think she's going to get away or whatever, but also like I guess we hadn't touched on Malcolm McDowell's character who's in that finale a little bit, but he's like plays Dr. Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance in the original version. And he does a little bit different here, and I think
Oh,
it's a good actor. He's a good pick for the character. I'm not sure if I agree with their direction with the character, but it's definitely different. Yeah,
I was wanting to see if what would you say about him. I kind of did not want to say much about Malcolm because I really enjoy Malcolm McDowell in a lot of movies.
yeah.
I think he was miscast in this one and Halloween 2. Even though I liked him better in Halloween 2 than I did this film, for some reason I can only see the character as Donald Pleasance, and I keep thinking that Malcolm McDowell in this role either underacts in certain scenes or overacts in other scenes, and he seems weird to me.
It was originally Christopher Lee was offered that part originally. Can you imagine, like in the first movie, not instead of Donald Pleasance, that would have been very close to Malcolm McDowell's, I think, as far as
Oh
his
yeah,
look,
most definitely.
so yeah.
I
But yeah, he doesn't look like Donald Pleasance, but he's British like Donald Pleasance, but yeah, he looks pretty like he looks kind of like Loomis when he puts the trench coat on about near the end of it.
The thing is, when I watch Donald Pleasance in the original film, I can get the sense that he's a psychiatrist who has watched this guy de-evolve into a force of evil. When Malcolm McDowell says that Michael Myers is a force of evil, I want to laugh. Michael McDowell in the second movie, because he's had the book out and he's famous, he seems more like that. In the first movie, is like it doesn't seem like he would be that character that would watch this guy de-evolve over what 10-15 years into this force of evil. And it could be that for me, Michael Myers isn't a force of evil. He's not the boogeyman to me. He becomes a hardcore spree serial killer. Uh, you know,
Yeah, he ages, and Malcolm McDowell's character ages like ridiculously in that 15 years they got him like all like brown hair wig and his beard's brown, and then within 15 years he looks like he put on like 30 years of age all of a sudden.
they make him look. When they try and make him look closer to Donald Pleasance.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't necessarily not believe the performance like you did. I thought it was a good performance. I would have liked to have seen more of it, but I think that I don't know, I think they made some odd choices in the script with it. That
Mm.
he's not the same character that Donald Pleasance played, and it even changes more in the second one.
Yeah.
But I guess they try to when Donald Pleasance shows up at the end of the Loomis character shows up at the end of Halloween and he first connects with Jamie Lee Curtis's character, that's such an awesome moment. And he shoots Michael and he falls and he says the dialogue where it happens here almost 15 minutes before the end, but then Michael comes back again and
Mm-hmm.
chases both of them. He almost kills Loomis, messes him up pretty good, and then it's just a chase scene or between Michael and
Yeah, because they go
Laurie
into
Strode.
what is it? And they go into the house first, or is it the pool sequence? I think it's
Yeah. Well, the pull happens first, and that's where Mike Dr. Loomis comes in and shoots him,
yeah, yeah.
and then he gets her out. He brings her to the car, and then he busts the window open, and then they go into the house, and there's just this long like fight sequence between these the two characters that was
Yeah, yeah.
it goes on for way too long, like you were saying before.
It does. It looks amazing. The
Yeah, it does.
cinematography for
Yeah,
both those sequences look amazing. I do like the way they lit these sequences. I like the look of them. But I think they just like you needed to cut some of it.
yeah. And maybe it's like it is cut. Maybe we're just watching the unrated version. Maybe it
Oh,
just like maybe there's like extra of that. I would think if anything needed to be cut, it was that. Is that a little bit of it? I think it goes on a good 5 minutes longer than it needs to, probably.
well, with Rob Zombie's films in general, there's always there's like another hour of footage of stuff
Yeah,
that we're not seeing because he shoots so much footage and then he has to cut it down so much.
right. And I don't. Yeah, I mean, but sometimes you add more stuff into it and it helps. Other times it doesn't. But I think that once you get into the climax of the film, you don't need extra shit. You can put stuff in before it, but before the but once you get to the climax, it needs to be this is go time and
Mhm.
make the rest of make it happen. And there's not a lot of suspense going on here because you got I guess there is a little bit of suspense, but you don't. I mean, you kind of know she's going to get out of it alive. So here you got Michael chasing her for a long time. But by the way, this Michael Myers, especially the adult version, the kid version too, but it was Tyler Mane plays. I think he's one of the best Michael Myers myself of any of the films. The way that he does it,
I agree.
he's really good, and the mask looks terrific, and just the physicality of what he does in this film is pretty amazing.
No, I agree, and I love them in both movies for both of the Rob Zombie movies. I love the mask too in both.
Yeah,
I like the
yeah,
way
yeah.
it's aged and everything. So there's I will never deny the look of any of Rob Zombie's films because he has some talented people helping him bring his films to life. I tend to really like all of his movies in that regards. It is other aspects that I kind of are iffy about. Um, and if I didn't say this before, even though I hated House of a Thousand Corpses when I first saw it, when I rewatched it for the podcast, I have a greater appreciation of it because time has been very kind to that movie for me. Um,
I haven't seen it in a long time either. I probably would like it better as well. Yeah, I think that with any horror movie, especially like when you're going through different phases and you have to
yeah,
adjust to that phase, it's like when it first hits it, I'm like, this isn't what I was expecting. And then
yeah.
later on, like to me, it's always 10 years later. I watch something 10 years later and I appreciate it more. But it's a hard adjustment sometimes going from, you go from like 90s, you go from 80s and 90s, and then it became like it kind of like weird in the early 2000s. Then it was like torture porn for a while, which which is always kind of tough for me.
Well, so think of it this way: House of a Thousand Corpses came out in 2003 when I hated it. In 2024, when we rewatched it, I actually have a greater appreciation of it, and I really enjoy it a whole hell of a lot. And that's 21 years
Yeah,
after it originally came out. It
yeah,
took
I didn't. Yeah,
and the thing is this: if you're not expecting the person Rob Zombie to have a style that is uniquely his own, and he is going to bring something unique to every film that he directs, then you're going to be disappointed in this Halloween. As much as it follows kind of some of the story structure of John Carpenter's original, this is very much a Rob Zombie film. And you see that at its best at the first hour. Um, and then of course you see it much more in his Halloween too. But I think, like a lot of people say, he wanted to stick to the original story so that fans would at least have that to look forward to when watching the remake. As we all know now, with the three current or last films, you could throw everything out the fucking window and start from scratch.
I think it's a tough thing. I think they did a really good job in the remakes of the newer trilogy of the first film was well done, but it's like, where do you go after that? You know, and it's a tough. Even when that third one came out, which I still haven't finished because I didn't like it, but people do think that maybe 10 years from now there will be a reevaluation of the film. Yeah, and maybe I'll watch it again. Yeah, I've watched maybe like half or something of it, but I don't know, something about it kind of just it bothers me. It's not even that Michael Myers isn't the main antagonist. It's just I don't know. It's sort of similar to this one in a way, where you got like a younger person um, turning into a killer, and it's a little bothersome. You know what I'm saying? I think in the newer version, I don't like the way he's given so many outs, really strong outs, and he doesn't take them.
Mhm.
Here he isn't given like many outs, if not any. The character, he's not
No.
helped. The really only character who's on his side is his mom,
Hmm.
and it was Sherry Moon Zombie. His wife plays the character, which a lot of people don't like that he uses his wife all the time. I think she's a pretty good actress. I think she would get more work too if she wanted to do other stuff. But a lot of people would really hate that he uses her all the time. It's like,
I've
there's
never had a problem with her in any
yeah,
movie she's been in with him, to be honest.
yeah. And she's really good in this, even though it's a brief role, but it's an important role. And I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, but yeah, but he's not given any outs. And once the mom realizes how bad of a situation, she kind of stays with him for a while until he kills more people in the insane asylum. Just loses it, and she goes and she kills herself. So I mean, the situation may have been a little different if she'd not done that, but she couldn't live with the fact that he was a killer,
Hmm.
and she killed her daughter, and all that, but she was still on board with it until like she saw him do it in front of her.
Yeah. I wanted to
But
make mention of that too. Yeah, I noticed that too. Which I don't think I noticed until I rewatched it because I've only ever seen this one three times. I saw it twice when it originally came out.
yeah,
And I've kind of not seen it since. So it was good revisiting this movie. I hate to say this, but I'm more of a fan of Halloween too. So I've seen that one more times than I've seen this one.
yeah. Yeah, I like Halloween 2 a lot better. I hadn't seen it in a long time, so I'll have to reevaluate it. I'm going to watch it probably pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, but another thing about it, I think in all his Rob Zombie's movies, for the most part, he has an amazing supporting cast.
Hmm.
And here, there's a lot of actors in it that are well known. He has like Brad Dourif as the sheriff, Daniel Harris, who was in the other Halloween, like 4 and 5. She plays a different character here, which is pretty cool. They let the character. She almost gets killed, but she lives. Is in the second one, So, but it's like even like a lot of you have like Richard Lynch in it. It plays like the principal at the school, and
Yeah.
Udo Kier. It plays like a
I
guy.
forgot it was in the movie. I
Yeah,
was
he's
like,
a
oh,
great.
look, here's in this too. I was like, oh
Yeah,
shit, I forgot about that.
yeah. And Clint Howard's got a supporting part, like a brief one.
Ken
But
Foray. I mean, it's
oh yeah,
just
yeah.
packed with freaking actors. And I I wouldn't be surprised if Rob Zombie is like a fanboy of all these people that he grew up watching, like the rest of us 80s kids who grew up watching all these great actors back then. And just he was able to put them all in his movies. And that's another thing I really enjoy about watching his movies because when you see Michael Myers kill these people, they don't seem as random when you know who they are.
Yeah, it used to be like, in old like Roger Corman movies, it would always be Dick Miller. You would like, okay, there's that guy. But here is like you got like all those people from that time period who were like well known now. Let's say Ken Foray, who was in it was Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, yeah. But he's like shows up briefly at that bathroom scene. He's in there taking a dump, and it's like he goes in there, he kills him. It's
Yeah, and I guess that actually enhances the rewatchability of a lot of these movies. I agree, and I do think that 10 years from now, or 15 years from now, or 20 years, as it was with me in House of a Thousand Corpses, I'll be able to rewatch some of these movies and enjoy them more because I actually do recognize most of the actors in them. House of a Thousand Corpses is less. Uh,
Yeah, it has like Rainn Wilson in that House of Thousand
yeah,
Corpses. He
yeah.
wasn't that well known to me
No,
at the time, but now it's like, wow, he's like, yeah, he's one of the people. I thought he was kind of odd choice though, because wasn't familiar with him for one of the main people before he gets killed, but
yeah.
yeah, it's funny.
I was surprised too. I forgot that was like when I rewatched it because it's been 21 fucking years. I was like,
Yeah,
oh wait, Rainn Wilson's in this.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, this. I mean, it's cool the way he gets these people in the film, just like that, and a lot of them will be in there briefly, but they give good performances because they're good actors. But it really like you're saying, like it's been a long time since I've seen this. But 2007, I probably saw it in 2008, so it's been a long time, and I did like the movie a lot better this time than the first time I saw it. Now, it is a bit of a yeah, it is tough seeing like because it is like to me it's almost two movies. Like you got the first half and then you got the second half, which is all in one night. The first half's like it takes place over a long period of time when he's becoming a Michael Myers. But I did like it, and I really watched it in like two or three sittings. And like the first half I watched, and I knew it because I'd seen it before. I was like, I'm going to stop watching it after it goes to present day time. And then, but then I watched the second part like it was a different movie and actually liked it better watching it that way than trying to watch it as one movie. And think it'd be a mini series. It's
Don't give people the ideal. If they're already making Friday the 13th in a freaking mini series of some
yeah,
type,
yeah.
they're gonna think about trying to do Halloween. Halloween
Yeah.
over the course of a whole season takes place over one night of Halloween. They're like, holy
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. Well, it was weird. You see that from Dusk Till Dawn series?
I loved it. I thought it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
absolutely great.
I thought it was, yeah. I mean, I didn't watch the first season of it. I tried to watch the second one. I kind of lost momentum, but the way that they did the first movie, it was every 10 minutes of the movie is like an hour of the film, and it actually worked for some reason. I couldn't believe it when I was like, I'm gonna check it out, and I was like, how could they possibly make this work? Like, the gas station is like the first like 2 hours of it, what I'm saying? Which is like 10 minutes of the movie,
Once you get past that for the second and third season, if you any of our listeners out there from Dust to Dawn, they do a good job expanding the characters in the universe created from the original movie, which
They
I
make
really
yeah.
enjoyed.
They
Um,
make Quentin Tarantino's character like a lot more likable because they knew he had to be a main character and he couldn't just be a rapist.
Oh, shit. But that's our trend. Like I said, if we talk too much or too highly about Halloween, they're gonna make that into a television
Oh
series.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The Michael Myers Chronicles or some shit.
yeah.
You could simply make Michael Myers in an insane asylum, and that's your season, and you're slowly watching these people disappear from the insane asylum because he's been killing them. And
Yeah.
just can't figure out what's going on until the very last episode when Michael Myers escapes. There you go, Hollywood. There's an entire season of Halloween right there for you. And I guarantee you,
Yeah,
people.
but really, that insane asylum part's pretty good though, surprisingly.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, you're right because there's not a lot of action in there. It is really Malcolm McDowell and the actor who plays the young Michael Myers, and you're just slowly watching Michael Myers de-evolve or become more of the evil presence that he becomes in the second half of the movie. Um,
there's a lot of complaints. I think that what most time people complain about this film, other than they don't like it that they gave Michael Myers a backstory.
mhm.
It really bothers them that it was just unnecessary. But like I said before, I think that it's probably the better part of the film.
Yeah.
It made it track from the film in a way. It doesn't. And same thing with it didn't go as when I first watched the Friday the 13th remake. I didn't feel like it was Friday the 13th, but it's actually a pretty good remake. But but here I didn't feel like it was necessarily Halloween just because of all the. But it is though. I mean, the first part takes place on Halloween. He's in the insane asylum, which isn't Halloween. They actually have a Christmas scene, yeah.
Mhm.
But then the last part's Halloween. But it's not going to make you. I don't know. It's weird because the original Halloween and all the other sequels they never make you feel good because it is a horror movie about him killing people. But it's something about it didn't make you feel as icky as when you're watching this one. It didn't disturb you as badly, especially when you take it from like a kid who could have made a turn and not been this psychopathic non killer with no empathy, and then you
Yeah.
see like a possibility of that not happening, but then it happens anyway. But maybe it was always going to happen because over time he just loses. Like there was none there to begin with, but then it becomes even worse over time. So it's very disturbing, and it's very realistic in a lot of ways too. Unlike some of the other ones, which you never once believed that shit was really happening.
Well, I think, in my opinion, the thing I liked about this film is what's so rarely done in a lot of movies is that Michael Myers is in the force of no until Loomis shoots him like 6 or 7 times at the very end of the movie. Michael Myers just seems like a normal person who just snaps and becomes this force of like a serial killer. Now, my
Well,
thing is this.
yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say he snaps, but I get what you're saying. He is a normal person who over time slowly
Yeah,
deteriorates to the point that he didn't have the empathy to begin with, but then he's never given the right guidance to ever
yeah.
come back from it. And over time he devolves into this killer. He's not superhuman, but he's
He's not.
he's human still.
And the thing is, you're seeing, and there's a lot of shows where you never get to see that character as a kid, where you feel bad because he is bullied by other by school bullies and even by his own family members, and you see that aspect of the character, and then what he ends up being. Most of the time, you see the character already grown, and they'll flash back to those type of scenes,
The
and they're
hard, the, yeah, the, yeah, the hard scenes to watch, and it's easier to watch them in flashbacks when you
yes,
don't see that much of them. But it's hard because you know the ending already,
yeah.
and you're seeing this likable kid, and you're like, oh, this guy is going to turn into that.
The only time I think film ever gets it close to this is when you're having a movie about killer kids. But then
Yeah.
you don't never see these killer kids become adults in that same movie. This movie is I think this is a rare movie where you get to see both aspects. You see the killer kid aspect, and then you see the killer kid as a grown up, and that is polarizing for a lot of people. And like people didn't want. I think there's a lot of people, like you said, who didn't like seeing the backstory for Michael Myers because he wasn't a real character in the John Carpenter. He was the boogeyman.
Right, right,
The
yeah,
boogeyman. You
yeah,
know, Rob Zombie made him a real character, a real person. And he made it for an hour as this little kid,
yeah,
you know.
right.
Like I said, that's the aspect of the film I really enjoyed, and I'm glad that Rob Zombie was able to do his 2 movies. I wish he had a chance to do a third movie and see where that really would have gone. But
I
we
would
got
hope it would have tied into Season of the Witch in some way had he done a third one.
uh, but we got a new trilogy that rewrote everything, which I will have to delve deeper into in another podcast because I really hated all of them. I watched all of them. I'm a
Yeah.
hardcore Halloween fan, and I think I need to tell people why I dislike them all.
Yeah. I
But
get, yeah, yeah. That second one though, that's the one that got me though, because it was like I was really like the first one. I went into that second one, it was just so much. I don't know, it was just so overwhelming.
so I'm going to tell you this, and this may be de-evolving just a little bit, but for all the criticism that Rob Zombie's movies got for his version of making Michael Myers a serial killer, and people hating that, the freaking remake does the exact same damn thing. And but the Halloween remake makes Michael Myers a serial spree killer. And the thing is, he just randomly kills anyone. And he just shows up randomly everywhere. And that took me out of the whole thing because he didn't seem like he was a boogeyman. He didn't seem like he was a serial killer. He just killed indiscriminately. And it just seemed like he could walk anywhere he wanted to and kill people randomly. And I hated that. I really hated that.
You know what I really didn't like about that second one is the townspeople all getting this big group, like almost like they got like all these weapons, and they're like acting so stupid, and and they're just so ridiculous. It's like,
You see, that's the part I actually liked. I liked it if they had cut out all the Laurie Strode stuff and made that movie about a town that was infected by the Michael Myers thing and the whole town going after it. I like that aspect of the second movie. I hate the fact that they kept shooing in Laurie Strode's story and the daughter's story, and they don't do anything other than sit at the hospital the whole fucking movie.
right.
I like the townspeople aspect until the very end, and I'm like, they got pitchforks and hammers and shit against Michael Myers.
Yeah.
This is the now. Everyone has a fucking gun.
I know. One girl's got a damn iron in her hand. It's like
the modern day age in America, there's at least 10 people, 50% of those people have a fucking gun. And the gun should have been the first thing to just, okay, we're pulling this gun out on Michael Myers. Bam, he's dead.
Yeah.
But no one pulls out a gun. And that was completely unbelievable. If it was in like Japan or some other place where they don't have that many guns, I would have said, okay, I could buy this. But in America, I hate to say this, everyone owns a fucking gun. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
I don't like seeing like gun stuff in movies anymore, but it definitely makes it unbelievable in that scenario.
It does because they beat the crap out of this guy, and he's not supposed to be supernatural. He's supposed to be a regular guy in these new movies, and they beat the crap out of him. Beat him like with everything.
Yeah.
He just gets up and kills everyone, and I'm like, are we watching the Boogeyman, or are we watching a serial? What the hell are the filmmakers trying to tell me here? Because it doesn't make any freaking sense. Like it took me out of the movies, and by the time they got to the third one, I almost liked the idea of the one character who becomes like a surrogate Michael Myers serial killer. But I said, like you, I said, this movie needs to be a separate movie. It doesn't need to be tying into old ass Michael Myers. That just seemed dumb to me.
What about as far as like the idea that they took out of the new trilogy, but they kept it with Rob Zombie of Laurie Strode being Michael Myers' sister. What do you think about that idea?
That's the aspect I like in Rob Zombie's version. I hated it in the remakes because in Rob Zombie's version, when you see young Michael Myers with his baby sister on the porch, you empathize with him because he does not kill her. She is an innocent little baby sister of his at that time, and you can feel for him then, and you get a sense of now you have an idea of why he goes after her later when he's older. That makes much more sense to me. In the new ones, that's why I said he's just a freaking spree killer.
What'd you think about it in Halloween 2 when they first introduced that shit?
In the John Carpenter's.
Yeah, John Carpenter's Halloween 2. Yeah.
I was fine with it when I first saw it. After I realized that that's not really how it should have been.
I think Rob Zombie definitely, because he knew about it already from the beginning. So he wrote it that way, and it made more sense. I never really thought that it was something was wrong with it. I never seen that it was something wrong with it to me. Obviously, the filmmakers behind the new trilogy thought that it wasn't scary. They're like, makes it not scary if he's got a connection. I don't know. But
then the whole movie makes no sense to me. It's like, why is this character needing to be coaxed to Laurie Strode's house if he has no reason to go after Laurie Strode?
Yeah.
There's no connect. That's the whole first movie that they did makes no sense to me. It's stupid because without that connection, there's no reason for Michael Myers to ever encounter Laurie Strode ever in those.
And everyone like already knows that they're brother and sister, and it would make it so much easier just to let them be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So yeah, there was a lot of problems with the new movies that I couldn't stand because of the logic in it. I could get behind a lot of things, and if the filmmakers had fully committed to their type of story, in my opinion, I think I would have enjoyed them more. I think that when they did the second and third one, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, I think they were trying to make them so fast that
Yeah.
they never bought to actually think about what they were writing. Don't get me wrong, the movies look good, and like we had this discussion about the music. I love the music. Thankfully, they brought John Carpenter and John Carpenter's son and his friend to write the music. The music is amazing. The look of these movies is amazing. Um, I just did not connect with any of the stories because there was too many logic issues for me. Way too many logic. And I know that when I rewatch those movies for the podcast in the future, I know I'm gonna see them even more. I've only ever watched them once. I watched them once in the theater when they came out, except for Halloween Ends. I bypassed the theater and I just said, "Fuck it, I'm not watching it. I'm just gonna watch it streaming." By that time, I was like gone. I was like, dude, I had seen everyone since the fifth one at the theater, and I was like, dude, I'm done. I'm done. Um, but I think those movies won't be reevaluated in the same color of light that some of the other movies. Like I could probably watch Halloween 5, which I still detest. Uh
Right.
and I could probably see something in there, maybe, but those new trilogy, the logic is what gets me. It's just
Yeah.
it's a good attempt. It's them trying to come up with something new. And I guarantee you in a few years, if not next year, someone will come up with a new version of Halloween.
Yeah.
Um
You know
they'll
what
re-
I think is a missed opportunity is Danny McBride was a writer on that and he's not in the movies. They'd be so much better if he was in them.
I know. I love Danny McBride, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, I think he's some of the funniest, one of the
Yeah.
funniest actors in a lot of movies he's in. And I was like disappointed he wasn't in them. I was
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
oh,
he should have been in them though, because it's like he was in that Aliens movie. Was it Alien Covenant? Playing
yes,
like a dramatic
yeah,
character. I mean, yeah, they could have got him in there. It would have made
yeah.
more money, you know.
Hey, I think the first Halloween and I think the second one did okay. I think the third one because they did that simultaneous streaming shit, it didn't do at all well
Yeah,
at all. But
it's hard to say. I think a lot of people were put off by the plot of that one too.
mhm.
A lot of people, I think the second one's the one that really hurt the whole thing though, because I think the first one had pretty good momentum going. I think after the second one, even for me, I was like, after watching the second one, I was like not really caring that much about seeing another one.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
that. And you knew there was going to be another one anyways.
yeah, but it's bad that it's a weird situation because the first one takes place in the time that it takes place, and then it ends at Halloween night, partway through the night. The whole second one is the rest of that Halloween night, and then
Mhm.
the third one is like it was a year or two later or something,
Yeah.
or longer than that maybe, isn't it? But it's like that time break thing that kind of kills it a little bit. I think it kills the momentum of the whole thing.
Well, among other things that killed the momentum of
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
don't get me wrong. I like the fact that, like Rob Zombie, Danny McBride and his partner with those movies kind of made the movies their own. I think that's the same with Halloween 4 with I think Dwight Little and I can't remember the guy who directed the fifth one. They kind of made these films like their own. The fifth movie looks really different than the fourth film, and Joe Chappelle, right? Joe Chappelle,
yeah,
part
yeah.
six. His part six looks very different than the other. His part six looks like a 2000 movie. It looks like a 2000 movie. It looks like his other movies, like Phantoms and stuff.
I was reading something about one of the producers. I guess his yeah his like
Stuff God.
yeah, he was like killed in this terrorist attack thing in between some of the
Yes.
movies. So like
Yeah.
that after that, his sons took over, but they were going to continue the part six storyline, and then they went a different way with it. You know?
Well, part 6 ended up being, even though I believe this is what it was. It was like the number one film of the weekend, but it was one of the lowest grossing movies of the franchise at the time it came out. I remember because I saw it the weekend it came out at the theaters. So I remember reading that. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
But it didn't come out in Halloween. I don't think I saw any of the Halloween movies. I don't think any of them actually came out in October. Uh, I think I saw all of them before October, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but over the years, over the 20 plus fucking years I've been watching Halloween movies, I tend to forget some of this stuff.
Yeah, it's weird that they wouldn't release them during Halloween. I'm sure there's some kind of like strategic method to it. I know they used to release like a Saw movie every October.
Until Saw, October was a dead period for horror movies.
Yeah, it's weird though because you think that people would embrace it.
You think, but the history of October is a bad month for Halloween movies or horror movies. So people release them before October.
Yeah,
that's why like Halloween 6 was the highest grossing movie of the weekend, but it like grossed less than $10 million. So it's like you know,
yeah,
and Halloween, the new trilogy, I think all came out before October as well, but they did extremely well.
Right.
Or at least the first two.
I guess they know to put them out before. I mean, they know what they're doing, I assume. But like, you think that they was kind of cool. Like, I didn't really get into Saw that much, but it was that kind of a cool thing that they were doing an event every year where they would like, here's another movie for the Halloween season, get into it. But I like the idea behind that. Not that I don't necessarily agree with the movies. I wish they were more like a Halloween type of movie. But
yeah, we'll have to delve deeper into Saw since I'm a huge fan of the Saw franchise. But when it was Saw and then Paranormal Activity took over the reign during the Saw reign, and then I don't think there has been another franchise to maximize it as well because the It movies did it, but it was only for 2 years.
Right.
And there hasn't been a franchise to kind of take over the reign again. I don't think there is currently a horror franchise that has made its mark like that since It one and two. Like, yeah, I don't think so. I think
like you're saying, like maybe Paranormal Activity may have been the one because it's really not necessarily a franchise. It's like a
no, but they did one each year for the 2 years it was out, and Paranormal Activity until that last two were like the highest grossing movie of October.
Right.
Except for like the last two, that Ghost Dimension, I think the marked ones did not do well at the box office, so they had to end it.
Yeah.
But that's all I want to say about Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween. We're gonna get into custom of kind of grading the film. So, Dave, what is your grade for this film?
So, this is a tough one, but I'm going to do it out of 5, 4. I mean, out of 5 stars. So I'm going to give it 3.5. Maybe leaning towards a 4, but probably 3.5. I'll leave it there.
You know what? After rewatching it, I'm gonna give it a 3.5 too, mostly because I think the second one holds up much better than this one does overall. And that's surprising for me because I hated the second one when I originally saw it. The second one I thought that's the one I had expectations for, and it was not what I was expecting. But over time, that one has aged much better for me, which is why I've seen it more now. So with this one, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars myself, mostly because I think, like you, the first half is really good to me, and the second half is just okay. It looks great. It looks amazing. The music's amazing, but I think it goes on for too long. And that's saying a lot to me because I could sit through a 3-hour movie with no problems whatsoever. If I could sit through.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even mind it being longer. I just don't. I think that I think that, like you're saying, the last act of the film is the problem of what goes on for too long. But I don't really necessarily mind the character development in other parts of the film.
No, I don't either. So that's what I'm gonna give it for right now. And of course, now we'll have to eventually talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And we probably need to talk about the original Halloween 2 as well at some point. Before we delve deep into the Danny McBride trilogy. Any final words, Dave, for everyone?
I don't know. I mean, I think that I think this is I think 3.5 stars. I guess it's a good call, but it's not going to make you feel like you're watching a Halloween movie. It might make you feel a little dirty. I think something we didn't mention, and most of the actresses go topless at some point, so there's that to going for it. It's including Danielle Harris. So.
Jesus. So have you been waiting for her to go topless from watching Halloween 4 or 5 when you were a little kid? Now she goes topless. Okay, there you go.
No, I'm not saying that.
Jesus.
I'm just saying she's obviously not a little girl like she was in that one. She like 10 or something in that.
Oh shit. But the thing is, I want to thank you, Dave, for joining us on Conversations in Horror. We're not PG. We are rated R, or in Rob Zombie's case, a hard NC-17 with our podcast. So we hope you've enjoyed this diversion into Rob Zombie world with Halloween from 2007 and some of the other Halloween movies in the franchise. Make sure to check out some of the other episodes that we've had, including episodes on the original John Carpenter Halloween and Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. We will have more coming up for you this month as we delve deeper into other Halloween movies and Halloween franchise movies. So with that, thank you so much for joining us at Conversations in Horror. Please check us out, and I will see you on the next time. Have a good day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, produced by Kevin L. Powers, executive produced by Kelly A. Inoka, and originally filmed via Zoom technology. Conversations in Horror is hosted by Kevin L. Powers and co-hosted by various horror film lovers and filmmakers. To learn more about Mr. Powers, please make sure to check out his Patreon page and other social media platforms. Conversations in Horror is copyright 2024 Broken Lighthouse Pictures production.